I sat in the back of my university's library, staring at the email from my father that essentially told me my entire future was on the line if I didn't show up to play a supporting role in my sister's perfect, expensive fantasy. He told me that if I wasn't standing there, smiling for the cameras while my golden sister, Maya, walked down the aisle, he would stop paying my tuition immediately, leaving me tens of thousands of dollars in debt with no way to finish my final year. It felt like a sick joke, a literal ransom note for my education. Also, the family could maintain the illusion of being a happy, united front for a single weekend. Was I wrong for refusing to be a prop in their play? Or would you have sucked it up just to keep your degree? I really need to know if I'm the one being unreasonable here because, from where I'm sitting, I was being asked to sell my soul to the people who spent my entire childhood making me feel invisible. To understand why this was such a slap in the face, you have to understand the dynamic of my family. My sister Meyer is 3 years older than me, and for as long as I can remember, she has been the sun that everyone else in the family orbited around. She was the cheerleader, the prom queen, the one who always had the perfect hair and the perfect friends. My parents, especially my dad, treated her like a fragile glass sculpture that needed to be protected and admired at all times. Then there was me. I was the quiet one, the one who stayed in my room and studied, the one who didn't care about social status or being the center of attention. I wasn't a problem child, but because I didn't reflect the star power my parents craved, I was relegated to the background. My achievements, like getting into a top-tier pre-med program, were always met with "that's nice." But did you hear Maya got a promotion at her boutique marketing firm? Everything was a competition I never asked to be a part of, and I was always losing. The wedding was the culmination of Maya's lifelong quest for the ultimate spotlight. She met Brandon, a guy from an incredibly wealthy family, about 2 years ago, and since the moment the ring was on her finger, my life has been a living hell. My parents poured every cent of their savings into this wedding. They even took out a second mortgage on the house to make sure it was up to the standards of Brandon's family. Meanwhile, I was working 2 jobs on top of a full-time science load just to cover my rent and groceries because my dad only agreed to cover my tuition, nothing else. I never complained about it, even when I was surviving on ramen and caffeine, because I thought the degree was my ticket to finally being independent. I thought that as long as I kept my head down and did my work, I could eventually walk away from their toxic favoritism and never look back. But Maya couldn't just have a wedding, she had to have a week-long celebration of her love at an upscale resort that cost more per night than I make in a month. And she didn't just want me there, she wanted me to be part of the bridal party, wearing a dress that cost $800, which I was expected to pay for, and participating in all these staged sisterly bonding moments for her wedding vlog. I told her months ago that I couldn't afford the dress or the time away from school. I'm in my senior year, taking some of the hardest classes of my life, and the wedding was scheduled right during my midterms. I explained this calmly. I told her I'd try to fly in for the actual ceremony on Saturday, but I couldn't do the full 5-day retreat. She lost it. She told me I was jealous and selfish, and that I was trying to ruin the most important day of her life. That's when my dad stepped in. He didn't ask me why I couldn't go. He didn't care about my grades or my future career. He just called me up and gave me an ultimatum. He said, "Your sister has worked hard for this, and our family is going to look perfect for the world. If you aren't there for the whole week, showing the proper respect to your sister and her new family, then I'm done. No more tuition checks. You can figure out how to pay for your own degree if you're so independent. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I tried to argue, to explain that missing a week of labs would literally mean failing 2 of my core classes. But he just hung up on me. For days, I couldn't sleep. I was trapped between my future and my pride. My mom wasn't any help either. She just kept texting me photos of Meyer in her wedding gown, telling me how hurt everyone was by my attitude. The pressure was mounting every single day. Maya started posting on social media about how family is everything and how some people just don't understand the value of loyalty, clearly tagging me in her subtweets. My cousins started calling me, telling me I was being a brat and that I should just do this one thing for Dad. Nobody cared that this one thing meant potentially throwing away 4 years of grueling academic work. I felt like I was being buried alive by their expectations. I had to decide, do I fold and go to this wedding, pretending to be the happy sister while my grades tank and my self-respect disappears, or do I stand my ground and risk losing everything I've worked for? It's a choice no one should have to make, especially not when it's being forced on you by the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. So, that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice that would change the course of my life forever. I was standing at a crossroads where one path led to a lifetime of being my family's doormat, and the other led to a terrifying, uncertain future where I was completely on my own. Before I tell you what I decided to do and how the wedding day actually went down, I want you to pause and comment below. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have swallowed your pride to save your education? Or would you have walked away from the money to keep your dignity? I'm curious to see if you think I was being too stubborn, or if my family was as insane as I think they were. I decided that I wasn't going to let them win, but I also wasn't going to just sit there and take the hit. I spent 3 days straight talking to the financial aid office at my university, explaining my situation. I showed them the emails from my dad. It turns out, because I was already working and had a high GPA, I qualified for an emergency hardship grant and a specialized loan package that would cover my final year. It wasn't free money like my dad's, and I'd have to pay it back eventually, but it meant he no longer held the leash. I didn't tell him I'd secured the funding. I let him think he still had power over me until the very last second. The week of the wedding arrived, and the family group chat was blowing up with photos of the resort. I didn't respond to a single message. On the day they expected me to arrive, my dad called me 20 times. I ignored them all. Finally, on the morning of the actual wedding, I sent a single group text to my mom, dad, and Maya. I told them that since my presence was apparently only valuable as a prop, and since my education was being used as a bargaining chip, I had decided to relieve them of the burden of paying for my school. I told them I wouldn't be coming, not today, and probably not ever again. I told Maya to have a perfect day, and blocked all of their numbers. The fallout was nuclear. Apparently, my absence caused a massive scene because Brandon's family kept asking where the other sister was, and my dad had to lie and say I was gravely ill, which backfired when Maya's friends saw me posting a photo of my textbook on my Instagram story at the same time. My parents were humiliated in front of the wealthy in-laws they were so desperate to impress. After the honeymoon, Maya tried to send me an invoice for the wasted bridesmaid dress and the emotional distress I caused her. My dad sent a formal letter saying he was disowning me, as if that was a threat after what he'd already tried to do. But you know what? For the first time in my life, I felt light. I finished my midterms, aced them, and I'm on track to graduate at the top of my class. I'm working more hours to cover my new loans, but every cent I earn is a testament to the fact that they don't own me anymore. They lost a daughter and a sister because they valued an aesthetic more than a person. Looking back, I realized that the tuition money was never about helping me. It was about controlling me. The moment I stopped being a good investment for their family image, they were ready to throw me to the wolves. I learned that family isn't defined by blood or a bank account. It's defined by who stands by you when things get difficult, not who threatens to ruin your life to get their way. I've found a new family in my friends and my colleagues who actually respect my goals. I don't regret my decision for a second, even with the debt I'm now carrying. It's a small price to pay for my freedom. Like this video, if you were on my side and think I did the right thing by standing my ground. Subscribe for more stories like this where we dive into the messy reality of family dynamics. And please, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Did I go too far, or did they get exactly what they deserved? I'll see you all in the next story.